Hello, welcome to the Heavy Duty Parts Report. My name is Jamie Irvin, and today we are live. Now, with all of our live broadcasts, we are always interested in having you participate and comment or ask questions. But today is a special episode that we are doing, and um, we're talking about the end of HDPR Live. And that is a decision that we made recently that was a tough decision. And I wanted to take some time to explain what that means and what is coming next. So, when it comes to the Heavy Duty Parts Report, people who know the Heavy Duty Parts Report as a podcast, that is a podcast that up until now we've been airing a episode every Monday, and we interview manufacturers. And what happened was that a couple of the guests that came forward weren't necessarily fitting into the category of manufacturer, and yet there was relevant, important information that we wanted to share with people. And so, about that time, we also qualified for the LinkedIn Live beta test. And actually, ironically, today, there is some technical difficulties with the LinkedIn platform with streaming live. And unfortunately, I've just been notified that our live stream is only on YouTube and Facebook right now and is not streaming live on LinkedIn. So that's kind of ironic. But when we qualified for that live beta test, we decided to try to set up a show that was live each week. And so today is actually our 75th HDPR Live. And over that course of time, we interviewed some really great people. We talked about all kinds of different subjects. And in a lot of the cases, the subject matter that we covered could be put into the category of challenging the status quo of the trucking industry. And so over the last 75 episodes, we've been watching the numbers, we've been watching, how it's been working. And what we found is that although some of you, like you right now, are watching live and are interacting with our live broadcasts, most of the views come later when we publish the replay. And so we had to think about that. We said, well, what should we do in 2022? So we made a decision to end HDPR Live as a standalone segment or as its own show, if you will. And we're going to reformat the Heavy Duty Parts Report podcast. So next year, there's going to be more than just the manufacturer's interview segment on Mondays on the podcast. And basically, we're taking what we've been doing on HDPR Live and we're incorporating it into what we do on the podcast. And that will not be recorded live. It'll be pre-recorded, edited, and then made available on demand, which matches most of the behavior of people who have been consuming the content that before was on what we called HDPR Live. So what are we going to do? Does this mean we're going to stop doing live streams? That's an obvious question. And the answer is no. Another thing that we did in 2021 is we tested some live stuff, not on the Heavy Duty Parts Report platform, but on my personal profile. And we tested me on location. So, for example, I was down in Vegas at the beginning of November at the Apex show. We did a live stream. And what we found is that was more engaging content live for the audience. So, what we're going to be shifting to in 2022 is we are going to be shifting to a format where when we do a Heavy Duty Parts Report episode, that is going to be published, pre-recorded and published on the podcast, published on YouTube for the video version, published on the website, and we're going to make that widely available. But when we go live, it's going to be for things that are more appropriate for a live broadcast. So, for example, breaking news. That's something where we will go live on our platforms. We will publish all of that live, and then we will make some content and put it on the website that people can check it out on demand later. When we are on site, so with travel restrictions, they're in flux right now with that new variant, but by and large, travel restrictions are changing and we are able to travel again. So trade shows, on-site kinds of events, that is where we're going to spend more of our time producing live content. And so that's why we say HDPR Live as its own show comes to an end today after 75 episodes. But really that content is being just incorporated into the podcast, and we're going to use the live stream opportunity to provide our viewers with more engaging content, the kind of content that they would typically want to see live in the moment. One of the things that I have really valued about the live streams is the ability to be able to interact with the audience live. And we're going to be thinking about some of that, of how we can create live content that will still allow the audience to participate. And I've got some ideas about that, but I haven't formulated them into a cohesive strategy yet. But one thing I'm leaning towards is creating some live programs where people can be involved and ask questions and can really participate. In fact, I actually have been thinking about one strategy where people will actually be able to come on the show live. So we could have listeners actually on the show live with us on video, talking to us and interacting with me and the guests. So the kinds of content that we're going to stream live is going to be we're going to change the direction of that. And the content where it's me interviewing a guest, we're going to move that to pre-recorded, edited, and published on the podcast, the website, YouTube, and all of our social channels. So I hope that makes sense as to why we've made this decision. I'd like to take some time now to just thank all of the people who came on the HDPR live show and all of the support that we got from not only our guests but also from our audience. I look forward to continuing to publish that kind of content in the podcast format and the video cast format. And so it's not that that's going away, but it's something that, like I said, it needs to be in the right format. And this is something that I also wanted to talk to you, all of you who are listening, about. You've got to be willing to adapt and to change. And I think a lot of times when companies are publishing content, they get into, they have to create systems to create the content consistently. But then their content becomes very repetitive. And sometimes also, companies and individuals try to make content and then they just try to put it on every platform. So they make one piece of content, put it on all the platforms, but each platform and each style of content has its own unique characteristics. And you've got to think about making content specifically for the medium, specifically for the type of channel. And that's really what we're trying to do. So that's why we're ending HDPR Live as its own show. We're amalgamating that into the Heavy Duty Parts Report weekly podcast, and that's all going to be announced on the podcast. So go over to heavydutypartsreport.com, follow the show, and you'll hear updates as we get closer to the beginning of 2022 and exactly what that's going to look like. And that's why we're shifting our strategy with live broadcasts to make them more the type of content we do live is going to be more adapted to the live, what people want from a live stream. And that's really important. So whether if you're listening to this and you run a heavy duty parts company and your sales and marketing team is thinking about what kind of content to make, you've got to try things. We've done a lot of testing this year and we learned a lot from that testing. And so those tests produced a bunch of data, and that data helped us to make this decision. So this wasn't just a decision that was made on a whim. There was a lot of thoughtful consideration put into it, and a lot of analysis of the data to understand the behavior and to understand what people who are consuming the content want, to understand what the platforms want you to do and how they want you to engage with their platform and produce content for their platform. So we're trying to adapt and to improve. That continuous process of improvement is what we've been really aiming for. And so I'm really excited about 2022. I'm excited about expanding the Heavy Duty Parts Report podcast video cast and expanding that format. I'm excited about pushing into new types of content that we will will stream live. I'm excited about just all of that moving forward in 2022 to try to provide the heavy duty parts industry with the best content that we can possibly make for you, to give you what you want, what you need, and to do it in a format that makes sense and that will be distributed as widely as possible. So again, this is going to bring HDPR Live as a standalone segment, as its own show, if you will, to an end after 75 episodes. And this type of content you've been used to seeing on Friday is going to be part of our podcast on in the 2022 calendar. So as early as the first week of January, you're going to start seeing a Friday segment on the podcast that you can tune into on demand. And I'm looking forward to that. And look for some of our upcoming live streams in 2022, where we're going to be on site and we're going to be able to bring you with us as we participate in industry events, and also when we are breaking news in the industry that is relevant to you. So tune in for that. Thank you so much for all of your support. And I'm going to sign off now. Oh, I got one last comment. Taryn Hohenson, our producer, says, looking forward to the 2022 HDPR year. So am I, Taryn. Thank you so much for tuning in. And with that, we're signing off on our last HDPR Live as its own show. Episode 75 brings this show to an end. Tune in at heavydutypartsreport.com for all of our content in 2022. And thank you so much for your support in 2021. We'll see you in the new year. Bye-bye.